My stepmother erased me from my father's funeral before his body was even cold. My name was missing from the obituary. My face had been removed from the memorial video. And when I reached the funeral home, security blocked the family entrance. Then Celeste walked onto the chapel stage, took my place beside Dad's coffin, and told 300 mourners Henry died peacefully after finally setting boundaries with the daughter who had caused him so much pain. People turned to look at me. Some looked disgusted. Others looked relieved that the villain had shown up. I said nothing. I waited until the service ended. Then my father's oldest employee slipped a brass key into my hand and whispered, "Your dad said she would erase you. He also said you'd know what to do with the receipts." My name is Audrey Bennett. I was 35 years old when my father died. Henry Bennett owned Bennett Memorial Group, a chain of 4 funeral homes outside Richmond, Virginia. The first location had been opened by my grandfather in 1969. My father expanded it carefully. He bought 2 struggling funeral homes, renovated an old chapel, and built a cremation center that served several rural counties. Dad believed grieving families remembered small details: the temperature of the room, whether someone pronounced a name correctly, whether the person helping them sounded rushed. He taught me that dignity was usually invisible until someone failed to provide it. My mother, Elaine, handled the books until she died from ovarian cancer when I was 22. Dad married Celeste Warren 4 years later. Celeste was polished, soft-spoken, and gifted at appearing compassionate while directing every conversation toward herself. Before marrying Dad, she had managed fundraising events for private schools. At Bennett Memorial, she became Director of Community Relations. She organized grief seminars, charity drives, holiday remembrance ceremonies, and social media campaigns about healing together. Her son from her first marriage, Owen Warren, became Chief Operating Officer. Owen was 39, confident, careful, and far more dangerous than someone who simply stole money. He understood systems. He knew how to make irregular decisions appear temporary. He knew which employees needed overtime, which board members hated conflict, which relatives could be controlled through embarrassment. Celeste manipulated emotions. Owen manipulated process. My father trusted both of them because they made expansion feel easy. I worked as the company's records and compliance director. That title sounded administrative. It was not. Funeral homes receive money years before some services occur. Families purchase burial plans in advance. Those funds must be protected in regulated trust or insurance arrangements. You cannot use someone's prepaid funeral money to renovate an office, pay bonuses, or cover payroll. At least you are not supposed to. I monitored pre-need contracts, trust deposits, death certificates, cremation authorizations, vendor records, and state compliance reports. Celeste called it paperwork. Owen called me the family archivist. Dad called me whenever a number did not make sense. The first serious conflict began 18 months before his death. I was reviewing monthly trust deposits when I found 12 pre-need payments that had not reached the trust account. The total was $84,600. The customer contracts were real. The families had paid. The money had entered Bennett Memorial's operating account and then disappeared into a vendor called Legacy Transition Services. I had never approved that vendor. I carried the ledger into Owen's office. Where did the legacy transition payments go? He did not look up. Consulting. What kind? Operational restructuring. Who owns the company? Why? Because it received $84,000 from pre-need funds. He looked at me then. They were temporary transfers. Pre-need funds are restricted. The trust deposit window is not immediate. It is 30 days. We'll replace the money. With what? Operating revenue. From which location? He leaned back. You always enter rooms as if someone has committed a crime. I entered with a ledger. Same thing with you. I placed the transactions on his desk.
Who owns Legacy Transition Services?
Celeste appeared at the doorway before he answered. Her eyes were already wet.
Audrey, why are you attacking Owen? I'm asking about trust money. He has been working 18-hour days since your father became ill.
Dad had been undergoing treatment for congestive heart failure. His health had declined, but he still came to the office several times a week. I said, that doesn't explain the vendor. Celeste stepped into the room. You have no idea what Owen has sacrificed. I know what the contracts require. There, that tone. What tone? The one that makes every person feel like a suspect. Owen folded his arms. Legacy handled the transition to our new planning software. Our software vendor already billed us. Additional consulting. Where is the contract? Celeste began crying, not loudly. She pressed her fingers beneath one eye. Your father is sick, and you are trying to create a scandal. I am trying to locate $84,000. You care more about records than people. No, records are how we prove people's money is safe. Owen stood. Leave my office. I need the contract by Friday. You don't supervise me. I supervise trust compliance. Celeste's expression changed, only briefly. Then she whispered, This is why Henry is afraid to retire. I looked at her. What he believes, you will tear this family apart. That sentence followed me into every room for the next year. By Friday, Owen produced a contract. It was dated 6 months earlier. The document metadata showed it had been created the previous evening. Legacy Transition Services belonged to his college roommate, Caleb Moss. Caleb had no employees, no funeral industry license, no business office. The company address was a mailbox at a shipping store. I showed Dad. He sat behind his old oak desk, wearing a sweater despite the warm weather. He read the first page. Then he closed the folder. Did the trust account receive the money? Not yet. Owen says it will. He used restricted funds. He says the software transition created a cash shortage. That makes no sense. Dad rubbed his forehead. Audrey, I don't have energy for another fight. This is not another fight. It becomes one whenever you walk into a room with a folder. I stared at him. Mom would have frozen Owen's access. His face tightened. Do not use your mother against me. I'm not. You think she would have handled everything better. She would have handled this. Dad looked toward the window. Give Owen 30 days, and if he does not restore the money, then we deal with it. 30 days passed. The money did not return. Instead, Celeste posted an internal message about family unity during Dad's illness. She wrote, Sometimes control disguises itself as concern. Please pray for those who struggle to trust others. Employees knew exactly who she meant. A funeral director I had trained stopped inviting me to staff meetings. One cousin called and asked whether I was trying to have Owen arrested. My aunt said Dad needed peace. No one asked what happened to the money. That was the first lesson Celeste taught me. A public accusation does not need to defeat the evidence. It only needs to make examining the evidence feel cruel. The second battle began with Dad's medical bills. He had excellent insurance, but his home nursing, private rehabilitation, and experimental cardiac treatment created large expenses. Celeste told relatives she was paying everything herself. At a family dinner, she placed one hand over Dad's and said, Love means carrying what no one sees. Everyone praised her. I knew the company had paid several bills. What I did not know was how many. One afternoon, I found a $38,000 check from a funeral trust operating reserve to Richmond Private Recovery. The memo line said Facility Sanitation Consulting. Richmond Private Recovery was Dad's rehabilitation center. I called Owen. Why is Dad's rehab coded as sanitation consulting? He sighed. Because insurance reimbursement is pending. The company cannot disguise personal medical expenses as vendor costs. He owns the company. That does not make it his checking account. You are unbelievable. How much has the company paid? Ask Celeste. I did. She was in the chapel arranging flowers for a remembrance service. Did you authorize company payments for Dad's treatment? Her hands stopped moving. Your father deserves care. I agree. Then why are you questioning it? I'm questioning the false accounting. She turned toward me. Do you want him in a cheaper facility? No. Should I send him somewhere with fewer nurses? No. Then what are you asking? For the bills to be recorded honestly. Her eyes filled. You cannot even let your father be sick without turning it into an audit. I am trying to protect the company. From him. From anyone using restricted funds. She picked up her phone. Say that again. I looked at the camera. Bennett Memorial should not use pre-need funeral funds to disguise personal medical expenses. She lowered the phone. You knew exactly how to phrase that. Yes. She did not post the video. Instead, she told Dad I had objected to paying for his treatment. He called me that night. His voice was weak. Celeste says you want the company to stop helping with my care. That is not what I said. She was crying. She was also lying. Dad went silent. Then he said, Don't speak about my wife that way. I found coded medical payments. She has kept me alive. I am not questioning her caregiving. You question everything. Because everything keeps arriving under another name. He ended the call. The next morning, my access to company banking was suspended. Owen sent a formal notice saying I had exceeded my role by reviewing executive medical matters. Celeste posted that a close family member had become fixated on inheritance while Henry was fighting for his life. My name was not included. It did not need to be. The local community knew us. People stopped speaking when I entered the grocery store. One church member told me I should be ashamed. Even Dad's nurse became cautious around me. For 3 weeks, I was allowed to review contracts, but not bank records. Then someone left a white envelope beneath my office door. Inside were copies of canceled checks. Each check was signed by Dad. Each was payable to me. The amounts totaled $214,000. I had never received them, the memo line said. Audrey reimbursement. Audrey consulting bonus. Audrey personal advance. Someone had created records, making it appear Dad had paid me hundreds of thousands of dollars. I called Owen. He answered immediately. Did you leave checks at my office? What checks? Payments supposedly made to me. I don't know what you're talking about. They were deposited somewhere. Then check your accounts. You know they aren't mine. He lowered his voice. Are you accusing me again? I'm asking where the money went. Maybe your father paid you more than you remember. People remember $200,000. You have always been careless with privilege. I almost admired the sentence. He had turned fabricated payments into evidence of my ingratitude. 2 days later, Celeste told the board that Dad had secretly supported me for years. She said I was demanding additional authority despite receiving substantial personal benefits. The checks appeared in a board packet. One member asked why I had concealed them. I did not receive this money. The checks are payable to you. Show me the endorsements. Owen displayed scanned backs. The signature looked like mine. It was not. Celeste whispered, Henry protected you from embarrassment. What embarrassment? Your financial difficulties. I do not have financial difficulties. You sold your condo. I sold it to move closer to Dad. Her eyes filled. You always have an explanation. I requested the original bank images. Owen refused. The board suspended me pending an internal investigation. By the end of the week, Celeste's friends were telling people I had taken money from my dying father. That was when Dad's oldest employee, Samuel Price, called me. Samuel was 72 and had worked with my grandfather. "Meet me at the first chapel," he said. "Why?" "Your father finally started asking the right questions." I found him in the old preparation room. He locked the door. Then he handed me a carbon copy receipt book. Dad had used books like it before the company computerized its records. Every page had a date, amount, recipient purpose, and handwritten note. The first page was only 6 months old. Where did this come from? Your dad kept it in the embalming supply cabinet. Why? Because Owen never opens anything that smells like chemicals. I turned the pages. Dad had documented payments to legacy transition services, medical bills, transfers to Celeste, checks supposedly written to me. Beside each entry, he had written the actual destination. The checks payable to me had been deposited into an account controlled by Warren Family Holdings. Celeste owned it. Dad had discovered that Owen and Celeste were creating checks in my name, forging the endorsements, and transferring money into their family company. Why didn't he tell me? Samuel looked toward the door. At first, he didn't believe it. The words hurt. He thought I took the money. He thought maybe he had forgotten. Dad's illness and medication had affected his memory. Celeste used that. Whenever he questioned a payment, she told him he had approved it. Whenever I questioned one, she told him I was attacking a sick man. Samuel handed me a small recorder. Henry started recording conversations. I pressed play. Dad's voice sounded tired. "Why is Audrey's name on this check?" Celeste answered. "Because you reimbursed her." "For what?" "She asked for help with her mortgage." "She doesn't have a mortgage." A pause. Then Celeste said softly, "Henry, this is what the doctor warned us about. You become confused in the evenings." Another recording played. Owen said, "If Audrey keeps reviewing the trust files, remove her access." Dad answered, "She is the only one who understands them." Owen laughed. "That is what she wants you to believe." A third recording contained the sentence that changed everything. Celeste said, "If Henry dies before we finish moving the contracts, Audrey will challenge everything. The funeral has to establish that she was estranged." Owen replied, "Then leave her out of the obituary." My hands began shaking. They had planned my erasure before Dad died. Dad had heard them. Samuel said, "Your father changed his estate documents 2 weeks later." "What did he change?" "You'll find out when Miss Patel calls." Meena Patel was Dad's attorney. She contacted me the next morning. Before we could meet, Dad suffered a massive stroke. He died 2 days later. Celeste controlled the funeral immediately. She moved the service from our oldest chapel to the largest location. She chose the obituary. She removed my name from the list of surviving family. She replaced childhood photographs containing me. She told employees I had chosen not to participate. When I arrived at the funeral home, security blocked the family entrance. Celeste met me in the lobby wearing black. "What are you doing here?" "My father's funeral." "You were asked to stay away." "By whom?" "Henry." "That is a lie." Her eyes filled. "Do not create a scene." "You removed me from the obituary." "He wanted peace." "Dad recorded you planning this." For 1 second, her grief disappeared. Then it returned. "You've been spying on a dying man." "No. You manipulated him into recording his wife." "I didn't know the recordings existed." "People were watching." Celeste lowered her voice. "Leave now, and I will tell everyone you were too emotional to attend." "No. Stay, and they will learn what you took from him. The forged checks. Her face changed again. Then she smiled sadly. You always need to win. I need to bury my father. Security allowed me into the public seating area. My assigned chair was in the last row. During the service, Celeste stood beside Dad's coffin and told everyone he had died after setting boundaries with a daughter who caused him pain. Some people looked at me. I remained seated. The memorial video showed Dad, Celeste Owen, and Owen's children. I appeared once in the corner of a photograph. The image had been cropped, so only half my face remained. After the service, Samuel gave me the brass key. The key opened a safe deposit box at a bank 2 blocks from the courthouse. Inside were 3 receipt books, the original bank images, Dad's recordings, a handwritten letter, and a sealed copy of his revised estate plan. Dad's letter began, Audrey, if you are reading this, Celeste has probably turned my funeral into evidence against you. I am sorry. I believed her before I believed the numbers. I had to stop reading. The letter continued. Dad explained that he had hired an independent forensic accountant. The preliminary review found $1.3 million in diverted pre-need funds, fabricated vendor payments, forged reimbursements, and unauthorized personal expenses. He had intended to confront Celeste and Owen after securing the trust accounts. He died first. The revised estate plan removed Celeste and Owen from all authority over Bennett Memorial Group. Celeste still received the marital share required by their agreement, but every payment was subject to offsets for money she owed the company. My father left his controlling company interests to a trust managed by Meena Patel, Samuel Price, and me. The funeral homes were not mine outright. Dad knew better than to turn grief into immediate power. But I controlled compliance decisions and had authority to preserve company records. Celeste did not know that when she held the will reading, she invited relatives, board members, employees, and a local reporter. She expected the old will. In that version, she became chairwoman, and Owen became president. Before Meena arrived, Celeste stood before the room. Henry wanted continuity, she said. He trusted the family members who remained beside him. She looked at me. Some people nodded. Then Meena opened the revised documents. Celeste's smile disappeared. Owen stood. That is not his will. It was signed 6 weeks before his death, Meena said. He lacked capacity. 2 physicians certified his capacity that morning. Celeste began crying. Audrey pressured him. I did not know the document existed. She always says that. Meena continued. Mr. Bennett also directed an independent review of company and trust accounts. Owen turned toward me. What did you give her? Nothing. Meena placed one of Dad's receipt books on the table. Henry Bennett gave us this. The room became silent. Celeste whispered, he was confused. Samuel spoke from the back. No, he was documenting. Owen grabbed the book. Meena stopped him. Do not touch evidence. Evidence of what? She read the first entry. A $46,000 payment to Legacy Transition Services had been coded as software consulting. Dad's note said no service provided. Owen instructed transfer. Another entry documented my forged reimbursement checks. Another listed $132,000 in medical payments falsely charged to pre-need accounts. Another showed Celeste's family company receiving the funds. Celeste turned toward the board. Henry asked me to manage expenses while he was ill. Meena played the recording. Dad asked why my name appeared on checks I had never requested. Celeste told him he was confused. People stopped looking at me. They looked at her. Owen said, recordings can be edited. Meena produced the bank files, the forged endorsements, the deposit accounts, the email history, the original document metadata. Owen had created the backdated contracts. Celeste had approved the transfers. Then Mina played the funeral conversation. Celeste's voice filled the room. The funeral has to establish that she was estranged. Owen answered. Then leave her out of the obituary. The reporter lowered her pen. Celeste stopped crying. Her face became completely still. You invaded our home, she said. Dad's recorded voice followed. You are discussing my funeral while I am still alive. Neither of them had realized he was in the hallway. The state pre-need regulator entered with 2 investigators. Dad's independent accountant had already submitted the preliminary findings. The court issued an order preserving all accounts and removing Owen from operations. Celeste's attorney tried to stop the recordings. The judge later admitted them with the supporting financial records. The investigation lasted 10 months. Not every questionable payment became a criminal charge. Some were poorly documented but legitimate. Others were not. Owen pleaded guilty to forgery fraud involving pre-need funds and falsification of company records. He served time in state custody and was permanently barred from working in licensed funeral operations. Celeste was convicted of conspiracy and financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult. Her sentence included home confinement probation and restitution. Her social media pages disappeared. The Community Relations Awards were removed from the funeral home lobby. Bennett Memorial Group nearly collapsed. Families were frightened that their prepaid plans had vanished. Most had not. The independent trust protected much of the money. The missing amount was restored through insurance asset sales and restitution agreements. We sold the newest funeral home to stabilize the other 3. Several employees left. Samuel retired 6 months later. At his retirement dinner, he told me, "Your father trusted paper too late. He trusted people first." That's usually how paper becomes necessary. Mina remained trustee for 3 years. I became president only after the accounts were rebuilt and the state restrictions were lifted. My first decision was to remove the old executive suite. Dad's office became a records room with glass walls. No hidden cabinets, no private vendor files, no family account that one person could control. Every pre-need transfer required 2 authenticated approvals. Every related party vendor appeared in quarterly reports. Employees complained that the new system was slow. I answered, "Slow is cheaper than court." I kept Dad's receipt books in a locked display cabinet outside my office, not as decoration, as a warning. The final page contained only one entry. Funeral program Audrey removed. Amount, no charge. Actual cost, the truth. Beneath it, Dad had written, "A person can be removed from a program without being removed from the record." I framed that page. 1 year after the convictions, I visited Dad's grave. Celeste had chosen the headstone before the funeral. It listed her as his beloved wife. It did not mention children. For several minutes, I stood there, feeling the old anger return. Then I placed a small copy of the corrected obituary beneath the stone. It listed me. Not first, not larger than anyone else, just present. That was enough. People sometimes think revenge means taking everything from the person who hurt you. It does not. Sometimes revenge is refusing to let them keep the version of events they created. Celeste controlled the chapel, the flowers, the obituary, the video, the seating, the eulogy. For one afternoon, she controlled what everyone believed about my father and me. But Dad had spent his final weeks creating a different memorial. A date, a check number, a deposit record, a signature, a receipt. He knew Celeste could erase my face from the funeral, so he left me something harder to edit. The record of what really happened. That was the lesson she understood too late. You can remove someone from the story people hear, but you cannot erase them from the truth. when the dead man kept the receipts.